Hi guys, it's Rob here with another CS100 Python programming tutorial. Now, what we were saying basically, this is basically what I've done here is just to explain this. I've conglomerated. If you notice, like for example, we say this won't help you in the final exam. That's not referring to this the statement above it. What it's referring to is basically I made 4 review sheets for students in the course. Right? This is a conglomerate of all 4 of those review sheets. Right, which I'm going through now to help you guys out, and some of the stuff that I've put in here is for the industry, right? So debugging is to help you with homework problems, projects, the real world, the industry, but it won't really help you on exams. Now, when reviewing your code, you might catch something, but since the exams are pencil and paper, it may not help you as much. But it will help you for other classes in the real world as well, which is why I'm going to take a video or 2 to go over it. Debugging is one of the most important skills a programmer can have at their disposal. Why would you debug a program? The code has an error which is preventing it from running. The code has a logic error and isn't doing what you want it to do. Or the code has entered an infinite loop. Those are all valid reasons to debug a program. How to debug a program. Comment out lines you believe to be problematic and try rerunning your code to see if it runs without them. Right now, don't forget, these are all tips that are from my experience, not only as a person that took the class, but from talking to other people. A lot of tips that, past my TA and, my tutors have given me in the past when I had taken this class and was new to programming. And this is a conglomerate of all of those. Put a bunch of print statements in your code to print out the current state of each variable, or what values they contain at a certain point during the code's execution. And again, I apologize for any typos. I missed a parenthesis here. Use a free online service such as Python Tutor to trace the code step by step and see what's going on. If you haven't used Python Tutor before, I highly recommend you do it. It's a free site. It's like pythontutor.org or .com. You just go on, you copy paste the code right in there, and you watch the execution step by step. Check for silly mistakes, like using while true to cause an infinite loop, not closing a file, not using readlines or readline or readlines to read the contents of an open file, not setting the result of one of these operations to a variable outside of any loop, capitalizing a letter that should otherwise be lowercase, as in read lines instead of read lines. And this has happened before, actually, where instead of read lines, a student wrote read lines, and we were spending 10 minutes looking at the problem, and I just realized just a little mistake like that can throw the whole thing off. Right? And it can be very hard to spot. No matter how experienced you are, it can be very hard to spot because you're looking at these other lines and thinking it must be some sort of complex error, and it's a silly mistake, so just capitalizing a letter that should have been lowercase. You can also use the Python debugger or the PDB to use things such as breakpoints, etc. to step through the code and see where the error occurred. This feature is common in Eclipse's debug mode for Java programming. Now, look at the code and trace it with an arbitrary value on paper. Did your code do what you wanted it to do? Look again at your code. Did you use the methods on types that supported those methods, or forget to convert, say, an int to a string, etc.? Set a time limit. Don't blankly stare at your code for too long. Look it over later with a fresh pair of eyes. If all this fails, have an ACM tutor, a TA, or the professor look over your code. And use a site like Stack Overflow to post your code and get community feedback on solving the issue. Also, another thing is errors themselves usually have a little description of why they're occurring. If they don't, it makes it a little more tedious to debug, but not impossible. And we've reached the conclusion of this video. Now, something I want to emphasize. I'm an IT major at NJIT, and the reason I'm saying this is because I've made tutorial videos for a lot of the curriculum for IT students. You could just look on my YouTube channel, and I have basically a course-oriented playlist, so a playlist for each course that I've made a tutorial for, which has a specific course number. So if you're in these courses, I highly recommend you check them out. Now, another thing that I wanted to go over is I have another separate playlist with the exact same videos in it, but with a title that's more applicable to a person wanting to teach themselves from the ground up, not in any course. These two sets of playlists are exactly the same. The reason I've done it this way is so as not to waste the time of the people that want to teach themselves. These are descriptive titles that tell you what this is about rather than course numbers. But for NJIT students, course numbers are more beneficial. But please, guys, like, subscribe, and please check out more of these tutorials. Thanks, guys, and I hope to see you soon.